Hey everyone, this is Mondo Duplantis, the world record holder and the pole vault, and you are listening to Athlètes Mondiaux.
Hi everyone, you're listening to the ATHLÈTES Mondo podcast. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. ATHLètes Mondiaux is French for athletes of the world. In this podcast, I interview track and field athletes from all around the world in their native language when I speak it. By the way, my name is Mathilde, I'm from France and I'm a polyglot. I created the ATHLèTES Mondiaux community back in 2005. My guest today is Mondo Duplantis, the world record holder, Olympic champion, world champion, and European champion in the pole vault. In our conversation, we talked about Mondo's childhood, about his training, and about how he deals with pressure. You're listening to the original interview in English, but the interview is also available dubbed in French for those of you who understand French better than English. Enjoy! Hi Mondo, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
What would you like people to think when hearing your name?
I don't know. I think that for me, I don't really worry about that too much as far as the outside perception of me. I hope, of course, that people think good things, and I hope that people enjoy what I do, enjoy, the kind of person that I am. But I feel like at the end of the day, I can't really control it that much other than, I try to be a good person. I try to be genuine, and I try to just be myself. And I try to, and I just go out there and I really enjoy what I do, and I try to put on good shows, especially when I'm on the track. But, as far as the way that people think of it, it feels like something that's a little bit out of my control, and I don't want to super stress about, because I don't want to change the way that I am as a person. I just try to be who I am. And if it translates to people, then it does. That's great. And if it doesn't, then, that sucks.
Yeah, true. I was also wondering if you'd already achieved all of the dreams you had as a little boy.
I think as far as right now, I've done most of the stuff to this point. I haven't won everything as far as it's not like the past 4 years or so have been just absolutely perfect for me. They've been very good, but I've lost a lot of competitions that I felt like I could have won. But I feel like all of my losses were really great as far as, learning from that. And I think that if it wasn't for the losses that I've had, such as 2017 World Championships, 2019, just being so close to the gold and stuff, I think that without those losses and those, getting really close to victory, but not quite getting it, I think that, you learn so much from that. And, going forward from that, I think that that's, the reason why I've been able to jump as well as I have been the past 2 years, especially just from everything I was able to learn, the years prior to that. So, as far as right now, I think I'm at a really good start to my career, and it's nice to be able to, check off most of the list of everything that I've wanted to do. I feel like now it's more just like defending titles and doing everything more times and trying to have a little bit of longevity in my career.
But is that enough to motivate you?
Yeah, I feel very motivated, and I feel like there's still a lot of stuff for me to do, and I think I still want a lot out of my career. So as far as motivation, that's not really a problem.
Okay. When I was preparing for this interview, I watched an interview you gave to a Swedish podcast. And at some point, one of the hosts asked you what it felt like to try to do something no one had ever done before. Do you remember what you said?
No, I don't.
You said, you think, why not me?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the mentality. And I think I take that mentality towards everything else, because, somebody has to do something new. Somebody has to be the world record holder. And, every event has a world record, or every sport or whatever it may be has somebody that's the best in it. So, if it's going to be somebody, why not me? Might as well be me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the mentality I had ever since I was a kid.
But do you see a limit somewhere? Because, I guess you don't see yourself jumping, 7 meters.
Mm-hmm.
But do you see a limit or not at all?
No, I don't see necessarily a limit. I really don't dwell on a specific number as much as people may think.
Okay.
It's not something like that. I would love to jump 630 in my career, and I think that would just because it sounds very good, nothing because it's something that's just always been on my mind. It's just at this point I've already been able to break the 620 barrier. I feel like that's 630 barrier. That's another barrier that it really puts put some space in between the older record that was held before me. So that would be nice. But right now, I'm just trying to like keep working my way up and just trying to keep improving upon the last meet, the last year. And so I don't no, I don't really think about that as much that much. Also,
Do you think you were born to do great things? Do you think it was your destiny? Do you believe in destiny, in fate?
yeah, I would say so. I think that they have specific people that are definitely born to do a certain thing, and I think in my situation, I there was probably some fate involved in me being a pole vaulter and me being the best in the world because I just I the situation that I had from the beginning was it was a pretty nice situation to set me up to become the best in the world,
Yeah.
and also I just felt like I had all the tools and I had the want and the drive and the passion for it, and I was really just in love with the event from the very beginning. So yeah, I would say I believe in fate. Yeah,
Because the crazy thing is, if your dad hadn't been a pole vaulter himself, you might never have even known what pole vaulting was.
yeah,
And there might be someone somewhere with as much talent as you, maybe even more, who knows? But someone who has never heard about pole vaulting.
yeah, and that's that's kind of a crazy thing to think about because if I never would have tried pole vaulting, maybe I probably never would have been a pole vaulter because
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a niche sport, niche event, of course, and so you have to be introduced to it to be able to try it. It's not like football or
Mm.
you know or any other very like more a little bit more mainstream sport where you just kind of end up trying it because everybody else does. So yeah, no, I mean it's yeah, it worked out quite well. But I think it's also much out of I was able to try a lot of different sports too growing up. I didn't just necessarily pole vault enough, so I was able to try different things, and it was kinda obvious from the beginning, though, that there was one that really stood out to me.
Okay. And when did you realize you had talent? That it was easy for you, not because it was easy, but because you were good at it.
Pretty early pretty early, honestly. I mean, I started pole vaulting basically as early as anybody can start pole vaulting. I started pole vaulting when I was, like, 3 years old or so, 4 years old, and that was just in my parents' backyard because my father built a setup, and, yeah, that was my training grounds for the from the beginning, and, yeah, I knew pretty early on that I had good talent for it, but also I think, like, it was also I just felt like I loved it so much that no matter what, I just always wanted to be doing it, and I was just kept on improving at it, and I just had this kind of mentality that if I just keep improving little by little, then one day I can, I'll be very 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 good at this thing, and I think that I had like a pretty good mentality and approach from the beginning.
And what did other kids think of you? Did they find you weird or cool?
I think like especially growing up in the United States, it was like the sport was weird for sure, and people thought like what I did was weird, but it wasn't like it was like a situation where I was like getting like bullied necessarily or anything because I did this like super weird sport because I was also like I was also a pretty good athlete, and so like if we were in school or something like that, and it was like nobody was really going to be able to make fun of me for what I did because it's like baseball is a big thing in American football where I grew up, and it was like if it was an American football player or a baseball player or somebody that played soccer is like they weren't really going to be able to make fun of me because I was better than them at what they did anyway
Mm,
because I was also pretty pretty athletic and I was just
mm,
pretty good at most sports also.
okay.
But I was definitely an outsider. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the 2022 season, about last year. You didn't win all of your competitions. You lost one.
Yeah.
With
Mhm.
hindsight now, do you know what happened?
I mean, I think sometimes like just you know, stuff happens. And that's just kind of like the name of the it's sports. And I would have loved to go the season. I would have had a perfect season, perfect record. I would have not lost a competition, but that's just not the way that things go sometimes. And I'm a I'm a guy that I do love to compete, and I love the whole journey and process of traveling and going to all these competitions and being able to see different parts of the world and jump in new stadiums. And if my whole goal of the season was to not lose a competition, then I can just pick maybe 8 competitions or so that I really wanted to prioritize, and I just go and I make sure I win those. But I don't do that, and I like to compete, and I like to to go around and do like the tour, you can say. And if you compete enough, then you're gonna run into a day where you kind of don't have the rhythm on the runway, and you just kind of lose it a little bit, and you kind of lose a little bit of focus. And that was basically the situation that happened to me in Brussels. And it was just kind of like a little bit of lack of focus, and also just I didn't really feel the run like I had been the whole season. I just kind of was a little bit lost in the whole rhythm. So yeah, I would say, like, I mean, of course I was, this is me looking back on it. I was more mad in probably the moment, and I was a little bit upset for like a day or so, but I ended up getting over it, and my next competition ended up going quite well. So I was able to bounce back, and it was probably maybe a good wake up call.
Would you say you're better at losing now?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm quite better. I'm quite better, and I think that's just kind of a thing that comes with a few things. It comes with maturity. It comes with just experience in the sport, understanding my event and just sports in general, and kind of like I was just saying, like, just understanding that stuff happens sometimes, and not everything's going to go your way all the time.
Yeah.
And you can be in great shape, you can be jumping very well, but you know sometimes you have bad jumps, sometimes you just have bad days, and that's just the way that sports are. They're very sports. It's very demanding. It's very demanding. It demands perfection out of you, and not every day you necessarily have that, even if you're at a super high level like I was at this past year.
And it's not like it was a terrible competition for you. You came
Yeah,
second, but just people expect you to win every single time. So when you
yeah,
only get second, people are like, "Oh,
yeah,
what happened?"
yeah, and that's just kind of the way it is, I guess, for me at this point. And it's but I have these high expectations of myself also. So you know, I didn't feel like I performed very well at that competition, and I think I know that I left a lot of bars out there. So that's, yeah, that kind of just comes with the territory.
I also wanted to talk about what happened in Brussels with Shaylee Fraser Price in the press conference when she told you she didn't believe you really trained as a sprinter
Hmm.
because she didn't understand what speed had to do with pole vaulting.
Hmm.
Is it a conversation you had started before the press conference?
We've talked about it like a few times, not just the press conference, for sure.
Okay. So there seems to be like a big misconception when it comes to what pole vaulters do in training and how
Hmm.
important speed is for,
Yeah,
yeah, to be a good pole vaulter.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like pole vaulting. I mean, it's almost all about speed in the run up approach. I mean, it's like it's very. I mean, it's definitely a focal point of my training,
Hmm.
and I feel like I really, the more and more the years go on, I train more and more like a sprinter. And so for me, I kind of realized that from pretty early on. And my father and my mother, we kind of always thought that, and we kind of just saw a direct correlation to, when I'm running my best and when I'm sprinting very well, then I was always jumping higher, and I was being able to grip higher, taking off the ground better, just being able to bring more energy into the whole jump. And so yeah, I mean, you can just basically look at like the guys that finish first in the competition to the guys that finish last. It's almost always the guys who are fastest to the guys who are slowest on their own way. And that's basically just the way it is. That's just how important it is to be able to jump high and to be able to, yeah, do well in the event.
So are you going to do it? Are you going to race each other?
Probably not, but I know that if Chilean really wanted to do it, that I would be willing to do it.
Hmm.
But I don't know if she really wants. I mean, for her, she actually has to already do a 100 meter, and then
Yeah.
maybe she would have to do another one,
Yeah.
unless we just did one
Yeah.
against me and her. But um, if yeah, if there was a situation where she actually wanted to do it, whether it be in Brussels or anywhere, I would be willing to do it, because I would also like to do a 100 meter, because I haven't done it in such a long time. So I would, not even just the competition against her, but also just kind of against myself.
Hmm.
I would be very curious to see how fast I am, because I don't. I know how fast I am a little bit, but I don't know exactly how well I would perform in a 100 meter.
Hmm.
It's a different thing.
Are there other misconceptions about what pole vaulters do in training?
I mean, I think that it's a lot more sprinting than people realize. But then I say that, but I think I more just mean specifically my training. I don't think everybody trains the exact same ways. Actually, I mean, I know people don't train the exact same way as me, and I think for me, I really put a focus on sprinting and trying to get faster, and trying to push the limit on my run up speed. And other than that, I think that would be the most surprising thing is how much I run and how much sprint training that I do in like a normal average week. And for me, I think people would also be surprised on how little I jump now
Mm-hmm.
because I don't really jump that much. I probably jump once a week on average now.
Why is that?
And a few reasons really. I think that one, it's very hard on your body, pole vaulting, and especially like at my level. And when I'm trying to jump, I really like to run from an approach where I'm able to bring a lot of speed in. So I mean, in the beginning of the season and like the beginning of the fall, I'd take some jumps from 6 steps, 8 steps, stuff like that. But I really I like, and I think it's great practice to be able to be bringing in a lot of speed into the takeoff from either 12 or 16 steps, and it's not quite replicating how fast I'm going from 20 steps, which my competition approach, but it's still enough to where I can the timing is fairly similar
Mm-hmm.
in the takeoff and everything else, and I'm able to push stiff and long poles. But yeah, so I don't jump that much. I think one is like I don't feel like I need to. Like I can jump twice in a week, but I feel like I can jump well enough once a week, and I don't lose the feeling as
Mm-hmm.
much anymore to where I don't really need to. And then also I think it's better for me to have like more of like a you know a day of training in that place. And I think just it is a lot on your body. It's a lot on your
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of impact
Yeah.
basically everywhere because it's just kind of a tough event like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, kind of because I don't really need it, and because it's just tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is it like being coached by your parents? I know that's all you know, but
Yeah,
what are the good sides and the bad sides?
I don't I don't know that many bad sides as far as now. I mean, I think for me it's basically only good things, and I mean, yeah, basically like you said, I don't really know any different, so I don't have anything to compare
Mm-hmm.
it to. But I mean, it's not just like I'm getting coached by my parents. I mean, as far as my mom and like her, writing the training program and doing the physical training, she she knows me very well. She knows my body very well, and being able to watch me train and stuff like that. She knows, and we know together. We have great communication on when to push it, when to let off a little bit, let my body rest, and when it's time to to yeah to get a little bit more intense when it's time to rest and things like that. And I think now, just from all the years spent together, and also being my mom, she's we're very good in that way of keeping myself not only fit but also healthy, which is probably just as important. And then when it comes to my father, we just have a great relationship from the beginning, just like father and son. But also, like, I don't think there's really anybody that I agree with as much as him as far as like technique and technical side of pole vaulting. I can't really think of any other coach in the world that sees it the same way that I do, and that I like the way that he goes about like a competition. And so we
Mm-hmm.
really see eye to eye, and I think that there's nobody that is as good as him in that field also. So yeah, it's like I think that is another reason why it works very well, because I think they're just two also very, very good coaches.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you represented Sweden for the first time in 2015 at the World Under 18 Championships in Colombia.
Hmm.
You won, but you were only 15. And
Exactly.
it actually shows on the pictures because you look so young and
Yeah.
so small.
Hmm.
You knew you had done it already, but was it when you realized you could do great things?
Yeah, it was one of the moments, definitely, because it was my first time competing like internationally
Mm-hmm.
for Sweden, and it was a lot of pressure. It was pressure that I've never felt before. And when you're wearing your country across your chest, and you're going there, you're fighting for gold medal, which is like, I've competed in competitions where they give out a medal, but this was something really different.
Yeah.
You're competing against people from all around the world. And yeah, it was just a very big test to me to see how I handle pressure and how I was going to do. And I ended up jumping very well, and I was able to win the competition, even being one of the younger ones in the competition, maybe the youngest. And so yeah, it was definitely like it was a sign of, yeah, it gave me a lot of confidence going forward that I can compete with anyone, and I can be on the biggest stage that there is, and I'm not going to like crumble or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that, because I always felt like I always felt like I could be a big time performer and like somebody that gets it done when it really counts. And I think that kind of proved to myself that I can handle whatever's like thrown at me.
And what about London 2017? Your first senior world championships? You made it to the final, right?
I did, yeah. So that was, yeah, it's like a little bit of mixed emotions as far as London, because like I was able to qualify for the final, and that was a really great thing because I was going in 17. I think, yeah, the youngest person like ever to qualify for the final. So it was a great achievement in itself. But then I wasn't able to do that well in the final. I remember I took a lot of jumps in the prelims.
Mm-hmm.
I think I took 10 competition jumps only, and that's not including probably the 5 warm up jumps. And so I remember I was very beat up going to the final. Like my body just couldn't really take it, and I had like a long high school season starting in beginning of end of December or so, going all the way out to the end of the summer. And so I think like physically I just couldn't really handle it, and that was something that I kind of just realized what it was. I was very talented, and I had a lot of potential, and like and I could do a lot of great things even at a young age. But I think just like physically, I was very immature, and I didn't have like physically what the guys, what everybody else had that was in the finals. And so I think that was it was a good wake up call to me too. And I think that I took training and everything. I took a lot more serious and intense approach the next coming year.
Well, it worked, obviously. We all remember Berlin in 2018. I was in the stands that day, and I remember thinking, where is he going to stop?
Yeah.
You jumped 6:05, and back then it was a Swedish record, but also an American record.
Yeah.
The rule changed after that, but back then, as a dual citizen, you could break both the Swedish record and the American record, although
Mhm.
you were competing for Sweden. So, like I said, the rule has changed, and Sam Kendricks did better than 6:05 and is now the American record holder.
Yeah, exactly.
What was it like for you breaking the American record while competing for Sweden at the European Champs?
It was aggravating. I didn't necessarily like. It wasn't like anything that I wanted to happen. And it's just one of these situations where I compete for Sweden, but I also am American. I'm American and I am Swedish. I'm I'm proud to be both. You know,
Yeah.
it's two very important sides of me, and you know, and my blood. And going into the competition, it's not anything that I would have ever thought like that would happen. And the way that it happened was, of course, very funny because I break the American record at the European Championships, which is just very ironic, and it's just super hilarious in itself. And so, yeah, I think I don't know. I don't. I guess I don't really care that much. I think it's kind of funny to look back on and just kind of to say, because I think it's a pretty funny story, but it's not something that I necessarily like wanted to happen like that. I think it's a lot of just fuss and a lot of like commotion. And I just had to I had to talk about it a lot after too, which maybe I didn't want to, but it is what it is. I think overall, I look back at Berlin, and it was the most life changing moment of my career, and I think it always will be. So I look back on Berlin, and I think nothing but amazing things.
Hmm. Yeah. But the crazy thing with this role in the US is that Susanna Kalur has the
Mm,
American record in the 60 hurdles
yeah.
because she was born in the US. So she's
Hmm.
also a dual citizen.
Yeah.
She never competed for the US, but yeah, it's crazy. But they've changed the rule now. So,
But yeah, I know that they changed the rule, of course, because of me, what happened in Berlin. But I don't know if I did they take the record away from her.
no, she still got it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think they could have, because they changed the rule, and I still had the record even
Yeah.
after changing the rule, because they
Yeah.
couldn't like
Yeah.
retroactively take it back from me.
Yeah.
They had to wait for somebody else to break
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It was the same with Susanna Kaler, so they have to wait for somebody to break her record to be able to take it back.
So someone might have to break the world record to get the American record.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um,
yeah,
that's a bit crazy.
yeah, yeah. It's
So,
what it is.
so fast forward to 2020 and your first world records.
Mm.
I heard you say in a podcast that you sometimes use pools you've never used before for world record attempts. Was it the case in 2020?
Yeah, definitely. It's always been the case, and I think that's
Okay.
that's the way that it has to kind of be. If you're, you know, I know that if I want to do something like a world record, it's a height that I've never jumped before. I got to be I got to be doing something that I've never done before. So I got to be on a stiffer pole. I got to be maybe gripping a little bit higher. doing something a little bit different and something a little bit better from what I did normally, because it's a world record height, and you need to do things exceptional to be able to get over a bar like that. So yeah, basically every world record that I've had is some type of a new pole, and basically, I mean, I guess not longer but stiffer, and so yeah, it's a thing you kind of just have to be pretty fearless, and you just have to go in there just trusting what you can do, and trusting that it's going to be the right transition, and that try to just hope that you can time it up right.
Yeah. But is it usual for pole vaulters to use poles they've never used in a competition? I'm not even talking about
Mm,
world record attempts, but
mm.
just in a competition.
Yeah, there's people that do it. There's people that do it, but it's only a few. I think that you have to be very mentally strong to be able to
Mm,
do it. And I think that is another thing about pole vaulting that a lot of people probably don't realize, is that you have to be on you have to be on a stiff pole, and you have to be pushing poles that are going to be able to throw you up there. And I think people they overly focus on the technical side of pole vaulting, which of course is very important, and you need to have good technique to be able to use the right poles and use long and stiff poles that can throw you up there. But at the end of the day, you have to be pushing stiff poles, and you have to be putting a lot of energy into the takeoff to get something out of it on the top.
mm.
And yeah, the guys or girls that can use poles that are very stiff according in correlation to their body weight are the ones that are just going to jump the highest.
And about the element of fear, because we've seen pole vaulters struggle, like have a mental block at some point in their career.
Mhm.
Do you think it happened to anyone? Because I mean, it happened to like Steve Hooker, who was Olympic champion. But
Yeah.
could it happen to anyone? Could it happen to you?
Uh, ah, I don't know, really. I mean, I would like to say no.
Mm,
So probably I don't think it would happen to me. But I don't think everybody's gone through stuff like that. I don't think Renault's ever really had a problem with that
mm-hmm.
as far as mentally. I think Renault's had his fair share of problems, especially like injuries and physically and
Right.
stuff like that, just trying to physically get himself into shape. But I think mentally he's always thought he can be the best, and he thought he can always fight for medals and stuff. He wouldn't be jumping if he didn't think like that.
Yeah.
And he has a great mentality to pole vaulting. And but so I mean, yeah, people, that is a part of the game, and that's what separates the good jumpers from the great jumpers, is just the mental toughness.
Mm,
And a lot of that just comes from, I think, like when you look at people like not only myself but like somebody like Renault, it's just being very comfortable on the runway, and it's trusting all the repetitions that you've been able to do in training and how long you've been able to do it, and just trusting your abilities, and just trusting that what's about to happen is about to work, because you really you have to be 100% confident in the outcome that's about to happen, because and if you have any hesitation and you don't believe in what's going to happen, then it's probably not going to work out for you.
talking about confidence, I couldn't believe it when I heard the story about Red Bull. So Red Bull is one of your sponsors,
Hmm.
and they wanted to have your face and your name saying Olympic champion on cans.
Hmm.
But for that to happen, you had to sign off on it before Tokyo,
Yeah,
before winning the Olympics. How much pressure was
crazy
that?
thing. No, it was a yeah, it was a little bit of a crazy thing, because it's a they wanted to they're going to sell thousands and thousands of the cans, so they need to have the production already made, and they wanted to have the timing to where it was going to be shortly after the Olympics, so they didn't want to have to wait months after. Then it's kind of boring. Then the Olympics is already
Yeah.
maybe not forgotten about, but it's less hype around it, and
Hmm.
it's not as fresh. And so that's just one of these situations where it's a little bit tough. And yeah, I mean, because the Olympics, that's one of these competitions where I never really experienced pressure like that also. And so I don't think that anything's ever going to be able to compare, especially my first Olympics. Now that
Hmm.
I've already got that one out the way, then I don't think anything like matters like that. But that was quite a crazy thing, yeah, to have to like sign off on that, to be like, yeah, you can go ahead and make it. That's just you have to trust your abilities and trust
Hmm.
trust what's going to happen is going to work out.
And yeah, you were the huge favorite. Betting on you was worth very little money because it was just obvious you were going to win.
Yeah,
So, but did you still enjoy it, or was it more like a relief to win?
I think a little bit of both. A little bit of both. It was the most like. it was, I think in the end, I enjoyed it. Like, I think the moment of like, whenever the bar was at 6:02 and Chris missed his first attempt. And, I knew right before that jump that it was like, if I make this, then I pretty much seal the deal. Like I'm going to win because even if he makes 6:02, it doesn't matter. I still win. So he's going to have to make the next bar, which I think was going to be like 6:07 or something. And, of course, anything can happen in sports, but I think the odds of that were very, very low for him at that time. And so that was a moment that I like that I will never forget, and that was a pretty powerful moment because I remember sitting on the back row and it was kind of like, if I make this, I win the Olympics, basically, and that was a really cool thing. And to go on, to go there and take a really good jump at it and make it, that was that was super cool. But like the whole competition and build up to that point was pretty stressful because I was passing some bars and like the wait in between, taking 45 minutes in between each jump, and then I'm just like thinking about everything in my head, and I don't usually overthink stuff, and I think that's a really strong suit of mine is that like most of the people that have, that get overly stressed out and that, don't handle pressure well is because they're just overthinking stuff. Because, everybody's there in the Olympics. They're there for a reason, and they're there because they have the talent and they have what it takes to be there. And, it's only your only brain that can make you think that you're not supposed to be there and that you don't deserve to be there. And so that was one of those rare moments where like, in between the jumps, I'm like, your brain, I just couldn't stop my brain. You're just going crazy because you're just thinking about, that the next jump is so important that I'm just overthinking about what to do in my run or what the pole to jump on, what grip to jump on, all these different things. And so that was tough a little bit there. But then when the bar started getting higher, for some reason, it just started getting easier and easier. It was just like the lower bars.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And in Eugene, so you won the one title I was missing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel on home soil, or was it because being in the US but competing for Sweden? How was it?
Like yes and no. I mean, being in the United States is always like, it's the US. I grew up in the United States, so it's like a little bit of that feeling. But it was still like in Oregon, which is very far from where I grew up in Louisiana. And so like in that way, I guess no. I mean, if the competition would have been like in the South, like in Louisiana or something, then of course it would have been a little bit stranger situation for me. But, with the fact of being in Oregon, it was like, it's far away enough from where I grew up to where like didn't really matter that much. And I think that when I got there, for the most part, the people there just kind of wanted to see me jump high and they wanted to see something cool. I don't think it was really that big of a deal of who I was competing for. And so, no, I think it was. I think overall, it was no problem.
Yeah, and you won and broke the world record, and it was only you on the track then, right?
Yeah, towards the end. Yeah, it was the end of the competition, so I was able to kind of close it out.
Yeah,
which I was able to.
that's pretty cool.
Style. So that was cool.
Yeah, tell us about the documentary, Born to Fly. Whose idea was it?
It wasn't my idea. Yeah, it was. This was in 2017. A guy named Bernard Robideau, he basically contacted me. He was like, I'm thinking about doing something. I just, like, he noticed that he's from the same hometown as me in Louisiana, in Lafayette. And basically just contacted me saying he doesn't really know what he wants to do. He just wants to follow me and film me a little bit because he sees that I'm doing some good stuff on the track. And just started filming me. And then like 5 years later, just kind of kept following me because as I kept progressing and doing things, had a good season. 2017, 2018 was even better. And so then I guess the film got more and more in depth, and I think he followed me a little bit closer because he knew that I had the potential to do something, great in the event. And and then we fast forward a few years, and here it is. Hopefully soon you'll be able to watch it from wherever you are in the world, not just Sweden.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And what do you think watching yourself?
It's a little bit strange, especially for me. Like, the film is, for the most part, predominantly when I'm a teenager, when I'm 17, 18, 19 years old. That's where the bulk and the meat of the film is based. And so, like, it's cool to see, like, the coming of age, and, like, it's cool to see the growth from when I was a teenager to where I am now. But and I guess in the same way, it can be a little bit cringy and a little bit just kind of weird to look at yourself when you're a teenager, no matter who you are. If you have somebody like filming you at that age, you're young and you're a little bit immature and like you don't really, yeah, it's a little bit tough to look at that sometimes. It's kind of just like something you just don't even want to look away from the camera. But it's cool to see like the way things can be so much different from them, but also like so much similar. And I like the love and the drive and the passion. Like it's still very there. And I want the whole world, and I wanted it at that second, even if no patience.
Hmm. Is there going to be a part two, or is that it?
Not, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think I would want to do it.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't. I probably wouldn't want to do it either. But I think as far as now, I'm pretty glad it's over, and I don't really want to be. I don't really want to. Yeah, I don't want to be filmed as much as that, like anymore, especially now, because now that like at that time it was like something a little bit new and fresh, and like I was just 17, 18 years old. I was on camera a little bit every once in a while, like after meets, but it was still a little bit of a new thing for me. It was kind of cool, fun, interesting thing. But like now I've had enough of it over the past like 5 years to where like it's not something that I'm like craving for
Hmm.
or anything like that. And especially not like in depth like that for like 5 more years. I can't really see that being something I would want to do right now. No, I'm just gonna, you know, maybe get a little bit of rest for a year, a few years first, and then maybe if something comes up that's interesting, then maybe. But as far as right now, I'm okay.
What did people think about it in Sweden?
It was yeah, it was good reception in Sweden. Good reception in Sweden, and I think it'll it'd definitely be a lot more interesting to how people take it, from other parts of the world. Because thing about it in Sweden is everybody that watched, they already knew who I was, and they kind of already know my story a little bit, and so they kind of know what's going to happen and everything like that. They know the buildup of the film. They know that I'm going to end up being up on top,
Yeah.
and I'm going to win the Olympics, and I'm going to break the world record. They kind of already know these things for the most part, because everybody, they know the story kind of. Of course, there's going to be a lot of stuff that they didn't know in between just about me, but I think it'll be, yeah, interesting to see like how people take it from other countries and just from anywhere around the world where they have no idea who I am, and they watch it with just a fresh set of eyes, and they just want to watch an interesting story,
Hmm.
hopefully.
But people love track and field in Sweden because when I was there, I was really surprised. I worked with linguists and translators, people who had nothing to do with track and field, and they all knew everybody in the Swedish team. And I was like, this would never happen in France. So I
Hmm.
guess it's a good thing, but also maybe a lot of pressure. Like people know who you are and they expect you to win. And
Yeah. I mean, I think it's okay. I mean, I think it's more of a good thing than a bad thing. Um, I think it's a cool thing when you get a lot of support.
mhm,
I think it's something that, yeah, I don't really complain about it. I feel very grateful for it, and I feel like there of course will be a little bit of added pressure in the sense of like there's people that want to watch you do something great, but there's no better feeling than something like the Olympics, where that basically the whole country's watching you, and they want you to bring home a gold, and being able to come back with the gold, and everybody being so you know feeling like, yeah, it's like this cool feeling of like how much impact sports can make
yeah.
sometimes. I think that the Olympics was definitely uh, a big, yeah, like it definitely showed me that, because coming back from the Olympics, just like the like how welcomed I was, and like just the appreciation that I showed from everywhere. I think if I was to go to a bar, I don't think I paid for a drink for quite a while or something like that. So just like things like that, it was it's a super cool thing.
What is the most Swedish thing and the most American thing in you?
Um, Depends. I think that like wherever I am, I'm like, I think like when I'm here in Louisiana, I think that like compared to a lot of people, I'm like very like more like Swedish in a way. And then when I'm in Sweden, it kind of stands out that I have a lot of roots in in America, and I think that's also like just like of the way I was brought up in my mother and my father, because they're very two different people, and you can basically they're just a product of the environment that they grew up, and I can I can be like, for the most part, I'm a pretty reserved person. I don't like necessarily, have to, not as outgoing as a lot of the people,
Yeah.
here in Southern Louisiana. And, you're very, very outgoing. You have, like, all kind of conversations, and you're just like the way that you are. I can be a little bit more like my mother, where it's just pretty reserved into yourself at times. But, it also, I think that just like confidence about me comes a lot from the environment of like where I grew up here. And I think that it's very much the mentality here is, if you're not first, you're last
Mm.
mentality. And I think that's pretty American thing. And because, it's tough, but I think it's a great environment to grow up, as far as if you want to be an athlete, and if you want to really have big dreams and you want to do a lot of great things in your sport, then, I think it works out. It works out pretty well.
Yeah. Well, I want to respect your time, so I have just a few more questions. The next
Yeah.
Olympics will be in France. We love pole vaulting in France. Do you think it'll make a
Yeah.
difference, like when the people in the crowd know the event, when they love it? Can you tell the difference?
Yeah, you can tell the difference, definitely. And, I always really enjoy jumping in France, especially in Paris. I think that's been some of my favorite competitions. We're in Paris for the Diamond League meet, and, yeah, I'm really excited about that because, growing up, I mean, all of my favorite jumpers growing up were always French jumpers, and I've always loved the culture of pole vaulting in France. And, um, being able to jump there, it feels like it's almost like a childhood kind of dream a little bit, in a way, every time I'm able to jump in France, because it's like it always felt like it was kind of the mecca of pole vaulting.
Yeah.
And so, to be able to have the Olympics there, which is the pinnacle of our sport, and which is the most important event, and have it in France, which is, if not the most important place for pole vaulting, it's going to be really special, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a few rapid fire questions. What is your highest opening bar ever?
I think 570. I
Mm-hmm.
think, yeah. I
Mm.
think 570. Not crazy, like high. Not for, I guess, like the height that I've jumped. I'm not a big like coming in high person. I usually come in at like 550, honestly, 550, 560 sometimes. But I like to like, I don't know. I like to like feel out a jump at a lower bar first, and then get more aggressive on like passing bars.
Okay. Your highest jump in training?
605.
I'm not sure a lot
Yeah.
of pole vaulters can say that. Yeah.
No, no.
Are you going to keep improving the world record 1 centimeter at a time? Is it the plan?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It depends. Maybe if I run into like a number that doesn't sound that good. I don't think I would jump at like 629
Yeah.
if I get to that point. Probably go to 630 at that point.
Okay.
But, as far as now, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I think when I go to meets, people want to see a world record. So if I can break a record by whatever amount, I think that it's cool for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Whose technique can you impersonate best?
Impersonate best. I think now I'm probably not as good as I used to be at that, because I'm so like, it's so ingrained to me, my own technique. I don't mess around as much pole vaulting as I used to, but, probably Renault's. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any bad travel stories with poles?
Bad travel stories?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even really know where to start.
Okay.
It's like 50%. It's like 50% of the competitions, basically.
Is it getting
No,
worse or better with time? Like,
probably worse,
wow.
because less airlines take it. Less airlines take it. So, you have to be really specific on like which airline you travel with. But I mean, I think I have a good team around me where like, they figure out what airlines are going to take it, and we get confirmation before I get there. So it mostly works out okay, but sometimes it's just, it can be tough. But I think going to Oregon World Championships, they were not going to take my poles on the flight, and they were supposed to. They like said they were going to be able to take it, and then they changed the rule like 2 days before, and they didn't send any emails or anything to us. It was United, and they're like, yeah, we changed our company policy saying we're not taking pull-up poles anymore, and we didn't even get like an email or anything, so we didn't know. So when I showed up to the airport to go to Eugene for the World Champs, they were just like, no. So I ended up, but luckily enough, I was ended up able to find another airline at the same airport to take me to Oregon that day. But I mean, it just made the day of travel a lot longer. But that was most recently like a shitty one, because it was World Champs, so it was like already a lot of stress going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to keep the same world record song?
maybe I don't. I think that I try to. I've changed it up a few. I haven't. It's not. I don't jump to the same song every time though,
Okay.
necessarily. So sometimes, I like my music, and I like different vibes and different situations of myself call for different things and different sounds. So no, I wouldn't say I would keep it the same. I think I like to like change my vibes and try to like get into different flows.
Do you have anything framed up in your house, like bibs or jerseys or?
Mm, Here in Sweden, I have like some like a few like I have some bibs like it's like a combination of bibs from all kind of meats and it's just like framed just to like look cool kind of. But I here I don't have that much that much stuff here, honestly, here in Louisiana. But uh, not that much. I get some like presents every once in a while. Like I got this like kind of framed photo of myself going over 605 in Berlin, but that was from UCS Spirit,
Okay.
the manufacturer of my poles. I got this cool picture from Sam one time of like me and him jumping together. He sent me that as like a present one time. I have that and stuff like that. I used to have a poster of Renault, and it was just a picture of Renault, but that was when I was like more young, like a
Mhm.
child,
Yeah.
and more like so now it's a little bit weird. So I have the poster, but I don't have it like framed above my bed like I used to.
Yeah, that'd be a bit weird. Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I grew out of that.
Yeah. And the final question I ask all of my guests. The podcast is called Athlètes Mondiaux, which means athletes of the world, because what I love the most is that track and field is truly universal. Like anybody can do track and field. That's what I
Mhm.
love the most about track and field. So I'd like to know what is the thing you love the most about track and field in general, not just pole vaulting.
I think it's a very like it's this like very beautiful like organized chaos
Yeah.
where when you're watching the thing there's so much different stuff going on and a lot of the things have nothing to do with each other but they're all performed on the same grounds and what we're doing in Povelton has nothing to do with the shot put. It has nothing to do with the 200 meters. It has
Mm.
nothing to do with the race, but they're all it's like this circus show, but it's different than a circus. A circus show is all performed together, but this is like chaotic in this way of there's different things going on that just do not relate to each other at all.
Mhm.
And it's different from basically any other sport. But I think if you understand different events and you understand what is going on, even though that they're all very different, then I think it can be very beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah. Would you do a different event or just, sprinting?
Yeah,
But
but I couldn't compete with like
yeah, yeah.
the sprinters. Uh, no, I don't think so. I like pole, and if I grew up in Sweden, then maybe it would have been easier to try out more events. But like growing up in the United States, there wasn't a big like we don't have a club system here, so I didn't have a system to where I can try out all these different events and see what I like. Like I didn't grow up really as a track and field athlete. I only grew up as a pole vaulter
Mhm.
because I just happened to have a pit in my backyard. But like I didn't really have the opportunity to try out many things until very later when I was like 17, 18. I tried out a little bit long jump and 100-meter, but that was it. But I thought that those are very cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm done. Anything you want to leave us with?
Uh, no, I don't know. I mean, thank you for listening. I hope it didn't bore you guys too much.
I'm sure no one's bored. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap. I'd like to thank Mondo for his time and thank you all for listening. I hope you liked the episode. If you did, please share it on social media to help the podcast grow. And make sure to subscribe and leave a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to support the podcast, please check the links in the description. That's it for today. I'll be back soon with another episode. Bye-bye.